Great day to explore horizons, talk to all the people, great for relationships, not great for making big commitments right now. And if you're going to make a big commitment, really see it through in your mind's eye with where it's going to go, what it's going to bring in, opportunities, detriments, just really think it through. Welcome to the Story of Spirit podcast, where practical spirituality meets real life. Hi, I'm your host, She Tells Story. I'm a psychic medium, grief support counselor, professional astrologer, and a human design reader, and of course, a law of attraction master coach. With my unique blend of spiritual and practical tools, I am here to help you align with your soul-led purpose and ignite a life that sets your soul on fire. In this podcast, we are going to explore the principles of energy, astrology, spirituality, and psychology to help you heal your grief and create an aligned life and business from the inside out. Whether you are looking to deepen your intuition, understand your cosmic design, or transform your business, this podcast is for you. Join me each week for insightful discussions, practical tips, and inspiring stories that will guide you on your journey to living your very best life. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at She Tells Story or wherever you listen to this podcast. Let's dive in and start this transformative journey together. Welcome to the Story of Spirit podcast. Welcome to the Astro Forecast for the week of October 13th through to the 19th. We are trucking along in this month, aren't we? So this week starts out in a third quarter phase of the moon in Cancer. So the moon is losing light and it is a very sensitive moon. And this is going to set the stage this week for a very intuitive, emotional, maybe you want to kind of be in more safety or more connection with women. This is a great week for intuition, but you are going to feel more sensitive. So noticing where you're noticing that, noticing where you're noticing emotions, being aware that the emotions that you could be picking up on might not be yours. And, how often do you have that experience, right? As a psychic, I have that all the time because I want to know, really, is this because something I'm believing or I'm being triggered or this is my happiness, or am I picking up on somebody else's information? It's just information. Emotions are just information if you don't make it mean anything about you. So on this Monday, October 13th, Venus moves into Libra. This is a beautiful placement for Venus. It's at home here. It loves to be charming and feel balanced and focus on beauty, relationships, just diplomacy. It's a relationship sign for a relationship planet. Literally, Venus is at home in Libra. And this is going to soften those edges of judgment that came during Virgo, when Venus was in Virgo. This is more about being amicable and finding the harmony in a relationship. So Venus here can make us a little bit more apt to say yes, to keep the peace, or have us be, again, more charming, more the quintessential host, want to just accommodate everybody, but not at the behest of yourself, so to speak. So interactions will feel lighter, romantic. There's an aesthetic appreciation increases. Cooperation and fairness in relationships are highlighted. This is a period for fostering harmony and cultivating connection. So it's a beautiful placement for Venus to be in. It's going to soften up the mood, especially as we move into Scorpio season. And again, being very aware of where you are trying to meet the needs of others at your detriment. We're not wanting to do that. And then also on Monday, as Venus moves into this 0 degree mark of Libra, which is a very potent degree. Remember, 0 degrees and 29 degrees are considered anaretic or critical degrees. And at this exact moment, she is going to be opposite Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries retrograde. So about to move into Pisces, not quite yet, but as it's in this kind of threshold area and in a opposition, this opposition can make things foggy. Neptune is the fog. Venus is relationships, what we love and value, beauty, aesthetics, money, and Neptune is spirituality. It's empathy, compassion, kindness, seeing the best in things, elevating consciousness, connecting to the divine. So these are not great aspects to be moving investments, making big changes in your appearance. Not a time for bangs, my friends. Not a great time to get a last minute tattoo. This is a time where you are very, very sensitive, and this sensitivity can give rise to illusions, delusions, idealization, confusion in love and creativity. This is also like the rose colored glasses, not being able to see danger clearly. So, not a good time to move, make big purchases now. Not a good time, because when this aspect moves, shifts out of this 0 degree opposition, you might be pretty surprised by what you found afterwards, that it's not, just not what you thought it was going to be. You can't see things clearly in this moment. So I would say not a great time to make big, big decisions. Great for dreams, for art, for intuition, great for creative aspects. Fantastic for that. But clarity is not going to come in during this commitment. Clarity is needed before commitments, is what I want to say. You're not getting any clarity right now. So let's say you want to take an art class, and now because of this aspect, you feel like, oh my God, I found the art class, and this feels so exciting. And yes, and then you sign up for the art class and you realize it's 3 hours every Wednesday night. And you're like, I don't know if I can commit 3 hours. And then it goes into your kid's piano, blah, blah, blah. So you're not going to see things clearly. Not a time to make any major commitments during this time. This is not a time to move money, make big investments, or relationship decisions, or beauty aesthetic decisions as well. Also, not a good time to make major changes to your appearance, which I mentioned. So, yes, take this energy, make it creative. It's a great time to write, to read a book, to watch a movie, to get lost in fantasy that doesn't really have bearing on your life. Because also on Monday, October 13th, Pluto goes direct in Aquarius. Now, this is a very slow moving planet. It's been sitting on the same degree of Aquarius for quite some time. Will we notice it as a collective? Meh. This is sort of, it gains momentum. So today is actually the day that it's supposed to go direct. Pluto turning direct signals a start of transformation and empowerment in the collective, technology, and social systems. Hidden truths begin to surface, offering clarity on where personal and societal evolution is necessary. Deep internal changes manifest outwardly, and you may feel the push to reclaim power and align with your highest purpose. Now, Pluto in Aquarius is in a very sensitive placement in the US birth chart. So the chart of what is sort of generally accepted as the birth of the United States, which is the signing of their constitution. And it's a very sensitive placement. And so the changes of Pluto bring about changes in the US, which then affect, of course, the world, right? It's a very central power, especially to us here in Canada. So there could be around this week a shifting of, because it's all about sort of power control, power to the people, truth being revealed. Could there be something coming out? It could go one or the other, that sort of truths are revealed and people are held to account, or power asserts its dominance and it squashes the people, because it's still at an early degrees of Aquarius. So, paying attention to that, I think, in terms of mundane astrology, which is looking at how the astrology is affecting world events, is something that I've always been fascinated with, because it really just shows you that astrology works, right? This is true, and I want to just to remind you again that it's not the planets making us do anything. It's the energy that we live in. We are energetic beings having this human experience. When you are born onto this planet, you are born with an energetic signature of your own. And there are generational energy frequencies as well, because these outer planets move very slowly. So we have these generational aspects that affect us all, right? So like I have Pluto in Libra. There's a 7-year gap of people that will have Pluto in Libra, and we're here to change relationships, change the way we relate to each other, about balance and harmony, and creating a new kind of realm in that, right? There was people who came after me that have Pluto in Scorpio. That's like a depth of mental health and talking about the taboo parts of culture. Like we are in generations where it's no secret that we're here to do big things, in our generations. And each generation kind of has a flavor, right, of what we came here to do, what was experiencing, what happened with technology, what happened with pop culture. These are all things that we can see in the astrology. So, astrology is really a study of energy coming onto this planet. And if we can surf the waves of energy, then we can create more ease for ourselves. Like, who doesn't want more ease? These are when we predict weeks like this, where there's going to be a lot of fogginess in relationships, not a time to make big purchases. All right. Well, you know what? The guy down the road that doesn't believe in astrology, he's not going to listen. He's going to buy a truck. And maybe that works out for him. Maybe it does not. But again, you have an insight and you can choose free will to follow that insight, or maybe you have a kick-ass opportunity that you can't say no to, and actually your chart is at a favorable time in this moment in time. So you always got to trust yourself above everything else. If you feel like this is a time to get a tattoo, go do the tattoo. But I'm going to say, do some research. If it's a spur of the moment thing that you want to do it right now, not a good idea. Not a good idea. It's just not a carefree moment. I don't know why I'm taking on this accent. All right, on Tuesday, October 14th, we have Venus trine to Uranus. This Venus it's really beautiful energy for excitement, novelty, freedom in relationships, creative pursuits, something exciting coming into your life. Also throwing the agenda out the window and being open to, like, yeah, your coworkers come into your office and say, let's go for lunch today. Let's try this new place down the road. And you have free will. You can go with the excitement and go, yeah, I'll try something new. Or no, I'm going to stick with tried true. I got my lunch in my bag. I'm going to stay in and eat. And while all your colleagues are out, your boss comes through and says, oh, I'm so glad you're here. I've got a project I need done in the next 20 minutes. And you can't escape. So I'm going to say that if you can follow excitement today, cautious, with safety, but you're following excitement with safety, with low risk, you're going to have something wonderful happen to you today, or in this like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? Again, low risk, because that's, Neptune opposite Venus, making things a little foggy. We really want to be safe with our choices. So surprising opportunities for love, collaboration, self-expression may arise. Flexibility and openness allow unexpected joy and connection. Embrace spontaneity while staying grounded in your values. That is the key to this aspect. Embrace spontaneity while staying grounded in your values. And then also great for creativity today, right? And embracing some fun, but be careful of impulsivity with this energy, right? You might want to be like, oh my God, this is a good deal. I'm going to go book that flight to Vegas. I don't know. Or buy all the things, all the jewels, all the crystals. I don't know. Being, again, cautious with your money, because this can make you impulsive with your resources. And we want to be very mindful in how we're using our resources because of that Neptune in the sky. Also on Tuesday, October 14th, Venus is also trine to Pluto. So this is a, really, again, deeply transformative. Relationships, finances, creative expression is possible. Power dynamics may shift, revealing hidden truths about love, desire, shared resources. Emotional honesty and vulnerability may pave the way for profound connection. This is a time to align your values and actions with relationships. So this is, again, great for getting things done, powering through things, transforming. Like, this is great for cleaning. This is a really great energy for cleaning your home. But Uranus might not want to do that. It wants to go do something fun and be free. And being chained to your home cleaning is not something that feels exciting to Uranus. But this feels like you can have a deep conversation with a friend. Again, because of that Neptune, though, it's making things feel kind of foggy. So you might have this might even add to a relationship dynamic that feels very deep and passionate, and like, my God, you guys are connecting on such a deeper level, but you're idealistic. You have these rose-colored glasses on, which is creating the energy for more connectivity. But it's actually, if you didn't have these rose-colored glasses on, you probably wouldn't be sharing, or probably not making out with this dude. So just be careful, or lady. Just be careful with you're making out with. That's all I'm saying. All right, on Friday, October 17th, we have the sun square to Jupiter. The sun is our identity. It is how we feel about ourselves, our vitality. And Jupiter is about expansion, optimism, and good luck. And when it's in a square, it makes us think that we could do anything. We can take on the world. It's optimistic, it's confident, it is expansive without a filter. And I'm still very cautious with that Venus opposite Neptune, even though it was happening, early in the week. It's probably moving a little past at this point in time, not past its effectiveness. It's still in effect. So what I'll say is temper your optimism, temper your confidence. Enthusiasm is going to be so high and it can overinflate expectations, lead to overcommitment. I'm feeling that very strongly with this moon in Cancer that started out the week. Moon's not in Cancer anymore at this time, but it's still that energy for the week has kind of imprinted because it's what starts our week off. So just be grounded. Opportunities for growth, travel, and creative ventures are present, but grounding and discernment are key. Focus on balancing ambition with realistic planning. Really think about, if you want to book this trip, because Jupiter rules sort of travel, Sagittarius is travel, but none of these planets are in Sagittarius, but Jupiter is known to rule travel. And so this can be a time where you want to book the trip or you're excited to go somewhere or you have an opportunity to go. I've had like 3 opportunities to go to the US and I'm really contemplating what does that look like in terms of the US dollar, because the Canadian dollar is not doing well compared to the US dollar. And then what does that look like in my schedule and leaving my family for that, and then even the things around traveling and going to an astrology conference. I wonder if how the border guards will feel about that. It's not the same world anymore. And so I have to really kind of contemplate that and make sure that this is the right thing. I can feel the desire coming up from my heart, and I'm not supposed to make a decision in an emotional high or low place. That's part of my human design. So this is going to be energy that feels exciting. It feels ambitious. It feels like you want to take on the world. You want to expand your influence. Great day to explore horizons, talk to all the people. Great for relationships. Not great for making big commitments right now. And if you're going to make a big commitment, really see it through in your mind's eye with where it's going to go, what it's going to bring in, opportunities, detriments, just really think it through. And then finally, on Sunday, October 19th, we have the sun in conjunct to Saturn. Saturn is responsibility, duty, structure. He's retrograde right now in Pisces, and the sun is in Libra. This relationship, wants harmony and diplomacy and to just be at peace with everybody. We don't want to fight with everybody. So this is tension. This is tension between desires for harmony and external limitations or responsibility. So we want to do a thing, but we got to do this other thing. That's that feeling of there's tension between these two. There's a need for adjustment between us wanting to be in relationship and be, social and feel pretty and look good and do all the things. And then we got these responsibilities to our passion and purpose and mission. And this feels to me like you shining your light can irritate people around you. And because they're not ready to see their light, right? So this aspect encourages patience, responsibility, and strategic adjustments. Use this time to reassess what's realistic and what's sustainable. It's great. It can strengthen long-term relationships and refine relationships if you are willing to go deeper into the things that are not working out, or being willing to accept that this other person just isn't going to change and they are who they are, but they still have a good heart, maybe. You've got to make those choices. Not a great aspect for guilt, frustration, and withdrawing from connection. This is actually a very cold aspect. Saturn in conjunct the sun. It's almost like it wants to restrict it or avoidance. It's what I'm sort of feeling in this. So notice where you're triggered in relationships over this weekend and sit with what is triggering you. A trigger is an unmet need. So you're sitting with what is the need that's not being met? And this is an echo of a previous time. So what is this reminding me of my past? Just like this relationship and this relationship. And you want to ask yourself, what is this bringing forward for me to learn? Maybe it's boundaries. Maybe it's having a hard conversation. Those are hard. That's why it's called a hard conversation. You have to tell people things that it's hard to hear, but you have to say it if you want to change your patterns in your life with love and compassion and inviting in reciprocity and a win-win situation. So you can set the intention to have a win-win situation if you need to have a hard conversation this week about a relationship that you want to save because there's something that feels worth saving. And really think about, if you're going to leave a relationship this week, what is the lesson and what are you actually learning from your past? Because if it's just avoidant behavior, you're not learning any lessons. You're just continuing an old pattern. This is about really inviting the other person into reciprocity and a win-win situation, saying, when you did this, I felt this. I am experiencing this in this situation. Can we talk about it? And if they say no, or they say it's your fault, perception is perception, right? Everyone has their own perception of situations. You can't change that. And then the real, decision has to be made is, does this relationship get to stay in my life? Does it feed me in other ways? Or is this person just not willing to come to the table at all? Because I know personally I'm not available for win-lose situations anymore. And I'm also very mindful of what feels like it fills my life and what detracts from my life. Like, I'm not even open for neutral relationships anymore. Like, if it's meh, it doesn't get to stay in my schedule or in my life. It gets to be something that fills my bucket. So notice that for yourself. And we talked about relationship inventory. When sun went into Libra, when the sun went into Libra, we talked about taking a relationship inventory to see what relationships are really serving you and what relationships are not, and what relationships kind of have to be there because you got family or obligations or soul contracts that are still in play that have not completed yet. So give yourself grace, give someone else grace. Also, always protecting yourself and making sure you feel safe and making a decision from a grounded, realistic standpoint, because it can be a very rosy week, y'all. Wishing you a wonderful week ahead. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Story of Spirit podcast. I hope you have found inspiration, support, and practical insights to help you align with your soul-led purpose and live a life that sets your soul on fire. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Your support helps us to reach more listeners and continues to provide valuable content. I sincerely appreciate every share, and I know it is how most people find me. It is because caring people like you have shared me with them at the right and perfect time. For more resources, insights, and to connect with our community, please visit us at www.shetellstory.com and follow us on Instagram at shetellstory. Remember, your journey to a more aligned and vibrant life is just the beginning, and I am here to support you every step of the way. Until next time, stay aligned, stay inspired, and keep shining your beautiful light. This is She Tells Story, signing off from the Story of Spirit podcast. Here's the legalese that's required by our lawyers. This podcast and the YouTube channel represents the opinions of She Tells Story and her guests to the show. The content should not be taken as medical, psychological, or financial advice. This series is informational and entertainment purposes only. Because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional, your mental health dream team, your financial advisor, or anyone else that's an expert in the field in where you are thinking of making big choices in your life.